What's going on, everybody? We are live with your weekly AI tech news, going over the craziest, outlandish, shocking news in the tech industry and also in the world as it relates to AI in the tech industry. Everything that's been happening this week, the major plays. So, first and foremost, happy that you're here. We're going to be talking. We're going to be covering. Y'all know we're going to be covering what happened at the Coldplay concert with the CEO and the head of HR being caught in what looks like a cheating scandal. Now, we're going to talk about not just what happened, because everyone's talking about what happened. We're also going to talk about the response that the CEO had, and we're going to discuss the ramifications that this could potentially have on the tech industry as a whole, and what this could end up looking like, and how this could reshape a lot of things of what's going to happen. Of course, we're going to talk about all of the other updates of things that are happening in the tech industry with robotics, things that are happening when it comes to social media, things with ByteDance, TikTok, wars that are happening, beefs that are happening between the tech giants, politics as it relates to the AI tech industry, all of that stuff that you all care about. That being said, let us know in the comments in the chat. For those of you that are tuning in on YouTube and LinkedIn, let us know in the comments in the chat, what is the craziest piece of tech news that you heard about this week? What is something that you want us to discuss? And if we see it, when we see your comment, if it's something that's interesting enough, we just might talk about it here in the chat. So grateful for all of you being here. That being said, as always, I'm joined by my incredible, both lovely and hyper intelligent co-host, the queen of AI herself, Ash. Ash, thank you so much for being here. As always, giving us amazing insight as an AI generalist yourself. That being said, y'all, let's go ahead and jump into the news, and we'll be tapping into the comments. So we're gonna go ahead and get it started with the main event. So, startup CEO and HR head caught canoodling on Jumbotron. A Coldplay concert just became a tech scandal. The CEO and head of HR at Astronomer were caught on the Jumbotron mid-kiss, sparking 40 million views, TikTok sleuthing, and company suspensions. The CEO himself issued a teary apology, swearing that no affair actually happened. Now, I'm going to actually read off the statement from the CEO. I'm going to bring it over on this other side of the screen so that way we could probably all see it together. Oh, did not mean for that to happen. All right, we got to see this response of what the CEO said. To me, it's just a little crazy. Just a little crazy. All right, so response from the CEO, Andy Byron. He said, "I want to acknowledge the moment that's been circling online and the disappointment it's caused. What was supposed to be a night of music and joy turned into a deeply personal mistake, playing out on a very public stage. I want to sincerely apologize to my wife, my family, and the team at Astronomer. You deserve a better partner. You deserve better from me as a father and better from me as a leader. This is not who I want to be or how I want to represent the company I helped build. I'm taking time to reflect, to take accountability, and to figure out the next steps, personally and professionally. I ask for privacy as I navigate that process. I also want to express how troubling it is that what should have been a private moment became public without my consent. I respect artists and entertainers, but I hope that we can all think more deeply about the impact of turning someone else's life into a spectacle. As a friend once sang, lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you." Oh my goodness, so much to say about this, so much to unpack. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen really quickly so that way you all can actually see the statement. Oh, let me see if there's a way for me to minimize this so we can see the statement and the image. Yes, there is. All right, I'm gonna minimize one more time. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen so y'all could like read the actual statement. And I'm curious. I'm curious from everybody here. What do y'all think about this statement? I mean, how do y'all feel about this? So we all know the image. Let me go ahead and just blow it up so y'all can look more clearly at the actual statement. Do it one more time. All right. So how do y'all feel about this statement? Do y'all think this is justifiable? He also claims no cheating actually happened. So essentially, what it looks like he's claiming, it looks that he is just basically claiming like, hey, we were caught in a romantic moment, but we never actually cheated before. First off, I want to know from y'all in the chat, do y'all believe this? Do y'all believe he actually wasn't cheating or they weren't cheating? Excuse me. Do you believe they weren't cheating? Because again, both of them have spouses, both of them are married. Do you believe they weren't cheating? And also, how do y'all feel about this apology? Do y'all feel this is a genuine, sincere apology? How do y'all feel about it? We're gonna look at a few of the comments from y'all, but Ash, I also want to know from you really quickly, what are your thoughts about the event? What are your thoughts about this apology? And also, do you believe that this was like just a moment where they were just cuddled up, or do you think that they're actually supposed to be sneaky links?
Bottom line, I think that Desi said it best. She says, of course, he's expressing all of this since he got caught. Both of them got caught technically, but I mean, and both facedly. You know, I think that their actions and how they were so surprised is pretty clear that they were smashing on the low. You know, that's pretty clear. Let's not try and cover it up. I think that it's interesting the way that they handled it because we need to have our leaders to step up with humility and transparency and honesty. And I think that legally, this statement is protecting him and saying that, you know, no, we weren't. Of course, we weren't doing anything behind the scenes. But I think that it's pretty clear and all of us can see what's going on. And I think also, if you're gonna be sneaking around, you got to be smarter. That's the bottom line. Be smarter about it. They got caught so openly to the point where like their brands are affected. The business that they are building is affected because of this messy situation. So, you know, they can say whatever they want, but the world has seen it firsthand. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, pretty crazy. So I'll share a couple of my thoughts, and then we'll jump over to the comments. So a couple comments I want to acknowledge really quickly that I think are hilarious. There's a bunch of people in the comments saying they're just network. They were just networking. They're just networking. That's hilarious. Hey, if anyone who's been to some tech conferences, a networking could look like this sometimes. You know, definitely having a little tech conference boo. You know, a little tech conference fling is definitely a thing. That being said, this is very devastating because the ramifications for this, their lives are destroyed. Especially his. Like let's just call a spade a spade. Men do get in situations like this. There are situations where women get judged much more harshly. You know, like being a churchgoer, being a Christian. We know that when women do certain things at church, women get labeled a Jezebel, or they get labeled like, okay, she a little. People judge women much more harshly in like the church space. In these types of spaces, it is what it is. Like, yo, as a man, you are going to be judged much more harshly. And that's why both of them are cheaters. But I mean, one, him being a man, two, him being the CEO. It's like that's why everyone keeps talking about him and talking about his wife, as if like he's the villain when both of them are clearly villains. And it's like one of those things you have to accept. But in the reality of it, his life, I don't know if he'll be able to recover from this. Because let's be real, I want to put this into perspective for everybody. It's not just that he's more than likely going to get fired from being CEO. The optics of him getting hired, he's nuclear now, to where most other tech companies or companies in general are not going to want to hire him as a CEO. They're not going to want to hire him as a public facing executive.
Yeah.
So it's really bad, and any opportunity he gets will not be the level of pay that he's currently getting, because no company, again, we're speaking about front facing executive roles. Maybe there's something behind the scenes he might be able to do, but front facing is going to be really tough for him. And so there's a huge possibility he won't, he'll lose. I mean, obviously it looks like he's going to lose his job, but then he might not be able to find work for a while. And then on top of that, potentially losing his family. And so this was just devastating. And like Ash, like you said, man, if you have a sneaky link, it's called a sneaky link for a reason. Now, we're not here advocating for sneaky links or cheaters. Nevertheless, if you're going to play the game, you better know how to play the game. And I'm going to be real, y'all. a lot of these high level executives, people in tech that make a lot of money that are very successful, a lot of them are guys who never knew how to move with women and knew how to move in a very smooth way. The only reason they even have women is because they are a CEO at a major tech company making all of this money, but they're not actually smooth, because any man with common sense that will be out with a woman and he has a woman, a girlfriend, a wife, or just someone he's like seriously involved with, to not be cuddled up, booed up in public. Because let's say this wasn't on the Jumbotron. Someone easily could have been in the crowd and could have recorded him with a phone. Like, there's layers on layers on how it could have went viral even that way. And so this should be a lesson, in general, as to how we need to move. And I mean, the best way to move is just to be faithful and not to be out here, that's the best way to move. But again, if you're gonna move a little sus, you better realize what comes with the territory and the risks that are involved with that. And so he made a multi-million dollar, possibly hundreds of millions of dollars mistake for the rest of his life. That's honestly devastating. And tech industry, the tech industry, to be real, is they're definitely going to make adjustments. If anybody doesn't know this, most major companies, corporations, when they hire a CEO or they promote someone a CEO, one of the requirements is usually you have to be married with a family. So if anybody didn't know that, let me know in the chat that it's a major requirement, to be married with a family. And part of the reason why is because a company knows that you have something at risk, because they don't want a CEO who's going to be sleeping around within the company and could ruin the company. So they want a CEO who has something to risk or something to lose so that things like this don't happen. And unfortunately, this is one of those situations where it happened and it got exposed in such a devastating way. So a lot of the tech industry is definitely going to crack down more on their CEOs, especially CEOs that are not the founder. Because that's one thing people forget. People think CEO means owner. CEO doesn't mean owner. The O in CEO doesn't mean owner. It's not chief executive owner. It's chief executive officer. So you can get promoted to CEO and you are still the employee of the company. And they even take it a step further, you could still be the founder of a company and still get fired by your investors, depending on the way that your company is set up and the ownership percentages and the board of directors and things like that. So either way, we just need to move with a certain level of character and be wise with how it is that we're moving. So Ash, how do you believe this is going to? Do you believe that this is something that's going to blow over? The tech industry isn't going to think too much about this, or do you believe that part of the industry is going to basically contact their CEOs? Different board of directors and investors are going to contact CEOs of the companies and say, "Hey, y'all saw what just happened with Astronomer. Let's make sure, hey, as a CEO, don't be pulling those stupid stuff and affecting our company." Or do you think this is something that's going to blow over?
This is a great question, Cyrus. And if I'm being completely honest, I think that we can all see how ethics and morals are taking the backstage, especially in the United States right now. So, although I would love to think that all of these companies are going to hold their CEOs to a higher standard, I also cannot help but think about the Twitter situation, in which literally Twitter, also known as XAI, has lost its CEO because Grok sexually harassed it. And nobody's talking about that. That's put under the rug. However, this
Yeah.
situation is now global and everyone's talking about it. However, if we're going to have conversations, we need to be talking about the stuff that matters and the stuff that's really going to be impacting lives in the future. And so it's pretty unfortunate for Mr. Andy. We have some really funny comments here. MX INF says, if I can't trust you not to bang HR, I can't trust you with this venture capital, Andy. But exactly. And even if he was doing it, just being, legally, he's protecting himself by saying like, that was nothing. We aren't smashing. I don't even know that lady, you guys. But like I said, it's pretty clear. And if you're gonna do something wrong like that, just be honest. It's okay, bro. It's all right. We get it.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm shocked at his lack of full accountability. Like, his statement, I believe, would have been fine, but he really should have fell on his sword. And for him to one try to flip it and say, "Oh, I can't believe this moment that should have been private. Oh, yeah, you and your sneaky link, you should have been private." But for him to say, "Oh, this should have been a private moment," I can't believe that the artists that they posted us. Artists have been doing this for the past decade. This is a known thing.
Yeah.
No, like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, you would have not complained if they would have showed y'all on screen and you all would have looked very casual and platonic. No, you had a problem that they caught you with what supposedly should have been your sneaky link. Well, it should have been his sneaky link because he has a wife, but it's like she's supposed to be his sneaky link.
Yeah.
Whatever. So that being said, I believe that's gonna hurt him. The fact that he didn't want to take full accountability. I mean, he said in his statement, I take accountability. Then he flipped around and tried to blame it on the artist and blame it on them. Oh, you shouldn't have been showing us. And what's funny, he said it in a way almost as if he felt like he's trying to, I don't want to use the term gaslight, but he said it in a way as if the general public would be like, yeah, you're right. They shouldn't be showing us, like, we deserve our privacy. And it's like, nah, bro, it actually backfired. And it's like where people maybe would have, supported him. Now it makes him look like a jerk. It makes him look crazy now. But I'm gonna look at a few of these other comments, and then Ash, I want to pass it over to you for the next piece of news. So let's see. Blame it on AI psychosis. That's funny. Let's see, Ronald. If they were not with their spouses, it is cheating. Caught in the act in public. Yeah, exactly. My network wife. What else? What else we got? MX says, as a CEO, he should be a leader. That wasn't very leaderly of him. Yeah, very true. Very true. Desi says, yes, the next post is going to be him stepping down. Howard says, everyone will forget in 2 weeks. So, yeah, I agree, Howard. Everyone will forget. Like, the general public will move on. I mean, we'll move on in 1 week, honestly. This will be old to us. That being said, corporate won't forget anytime soon. Like, corporations aren't going to forget. It's going to take, in order for corporations to move on from this, it's probably going to take him a good 2 or 3 years. It's going to take him a while. It's almost like it's almost the equivalent of a mega church pastor getting caught in some crazy scandal, which happens a lot of times, but particularly a mega church pastor that isn't the owner of their church. Examples, there are different examples we could give, but I mean, I've seen time and time again where a mega church pastor wasn't the full owner and their board kicked them out or told them you have to take a sabbatical. Usually those sabbaticals would be about a year, 2 years, 5 years, depending on the scandal. Many times those pastors have to go on and start a completely different ministry. I've seen it happen time and time again. And so in his situation, I don't even know. I don't know. All right, we'll read a couple more comments and we'll pass it over to the next piece of news. MX says a real smart CEO would have worn a fake mustache and baseball cap, like Joe Goldberg from You. That's hilarious. Desi says, yeah, you have to suffer the consequences. I hope he was investing his money well. Howard, let's say he acted like it was normal and they didn't react, rather they responded. I still believe it still would have affected his wife, the company, a little bit. It would have went a little viral because I believe someone still would have posted it. Because I mean, you're outside. Like, he's outside with her. Someone still would have caught it, and because it was still on the jumbotron, so it still would have went semi-viral. But their reaction is what made it go viral because it made everyone curious. Like, it made the public curious. But if they didn't react that way, you're completely right. Only the people who work at Astronomer and people closely related would have known about it. They would have posted about it. It would have went a little viral, but people wouldn't have cared if they acted casual about it. All right, we've got a lot more comments, but also, y'all, we have a lot more news. So we're going to go ahead and get ready to pass it over to Ash for the next piece of tech news. As we get ready to do that, I do want to acknowledge and let everyone know that for those of you who are looking for funding, either for your tech startup or if you're looking for personal funding, Again, Tech to Do Black has collaborated with a funding brand that is prioritizing our community and people we send to them to provide funding, $50,000 to $250,000 in funding. Already over 15 people in our community have gotten funded. I have interviewed 2 people so far who have gotten funding. And yeah, so the funding is either for personal use or it's for your business. You get a little bit more in funding if it is for your business. There are requirements that are in place when it comes to the funding, though, just for clarity. And so you do have that. You can't come asking for funding if you have a low credit score. You have to have a certain credit score requirement. You have to have a certain utilization when it comes to your credit. But you can have things on your credit. You can have bankruptcies on your credit. You could have a variety of things that are negative on your credit, but it just can't be recent. That being said, if you believe you might qualify, or if you're not even sure that you qualify or not, all you need to do is click the link in the description. For those of you that are listening on audio streaming platforms, Spotify, and others, likewise, you would just go to the description in the show notes of the video, and you will see the link that is there. Whether it is you are looking to book to get a schedule with a career advisor to get job placement assistance for a tech career, or if you are looking to get that funding or apply for the funding. Those are 2 different things you have down there for you, as well as booking a consultation with Ash for an AI consultation. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but just giving everybody a heads up as it comes down to that. That being said, Ash, we'll go ahead and pass it over to you for the next piece of news.
Appreciate it, Cyrus. And I do want to shout out a few last comments here and give last opinion, okay? So Desi says, yeah, and you cannot fornicate with your HR. Let's go ahead and call out Elon Musk for literally impregnating one of his executives. And let's also, moving forward, try and hold all of our CEOs accountable for the wrong or conflicts of interest that they do. All right, so let's move on to the next piece of news.
That's actually a real statement. Like Elon Musk not just was with his HR girl, he got her pregnant. And I mean, we have to say really what it is that you have to have a brand. I hate to say it. It's like Elon was wrong for doing that. But it's like, man, when you have a strong brand and you're unorthodox, and
yeah,
it's like, it's a whole different type of beast. But that's crazy. I didn't even think about that. That's so true, Ash.
All right, you guys. Well, let's go all around the world, shall we? Hitting the EU. Okay. Shout out to Europe. All right. They are reinforcing AI accountability, starting with putting big tech under pressure because somebody has to do it, right? So here it goes. Microsoft signs EU's AI code of practice, but Meta says no. This is big tech facing a real test. What this means, let's get into the details, all right? Microsoft is likely going to commit to EU's voluntary AI code. However, to repeat, Meta refuses due to legal uncertainties. They want your data. So the guidelines for systematic risk models are going to require risk assessments, adversarial checks, transparency, and could reach up to 35 million in euros or 7% of global turnover in fines. So this is why they don't want to get caught. They don't want to get fined. However, this is the first step for ethics and transparency. So we have to shout out the EU for that. So as far as your benefits, okay, everyone that's here, how you guys win and get ahead, okay? So companies that self-certify gain first mover trust currency in EU markets. This is for anybody over there in Europe right now. Also, demand is going to skyrocket for AI auditing, compliance, and transparency services. So they need AI ethicists. That's going to be a huge in-demand role that's coming out, something new that you're not really going to have too much competition in. And last but not least, the real-life implications. So number one, EU citizens are going to gain rights to clarity and safety from AI's impact. Speaks for itself. And last but not least, cross-border tech firms are going to face fragmentation, operational and legal. So right now, okay, this is the big stage. We're seeing who cares about transparency and ethics and who could care less. Microsoft is taking the first step. Meta, we'll leave it at that. All right, Cyrus, I'm interested to hear what you're thinking about this. And everybody, comment in the chat system.
Yeah, so I saw a little bit of information on this where these AI companies are looking to expand and do more in Europe. and Europe is demanding that they sign some type of mandate. Loki kind of feels a little bit like the Sokovian Accords in in Marvel, in what is it, Captain America, the Captain America Civil War movie. Sound like a super nerd saying that, but that being said, yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. And I'll be real, I don't believe Europe really has a leg to stand on, because as much as these tech companies want to be in Europe and it would benefit them, likewise, we talked about this recently. Europe has not been in the conversation of what's happening with AI and technological advancements. Even even nations like, obviously, Dubai, which isn't a nation, it's a it's basically a province, but Dubai, China, various parts of Africa are making waves when it comes to technological advancements and being involved in the tech scene, even India. But it's like, man, what is going on with Europe? Europe has been going down. And so I don't believe they have much of a leg to stand on. And I think that's part of the reason why most of these tech companies, and again, I'm not saying they're right or they're wrong. I'm just saying that I don't believe that they have enough to stand on. And I think that's why most of these tech companies aren't signing it. They're like, we're not about to sign that. Like, we don't need to sign that. And so, obviously, as far as I've seen, only one tech company I think so far has signed it. And I'm gonna be real, it's an AI company that's not as prominent as the others. So it's a very interesting space to be in. Obviously, we know that Europe operates a little bit differently than the US. They like to kind of have like everybody's information. There is not really privacy there, like how we have a little bit of privacy here in the US, not fully private, but we have a little bit of privacy. And so it definitely is a completely different place. And my prediction, I believe they're going to meet somewhere in the middle. I don't think either side is going to fully fold. Meta's obviously not going to like fully fold. Because Zuckerberg is way too stubborn, way too stubborn. He doesn't want companies to like have insight to his information. Um, I mean, it's cost him tens of billions of dollars with his relationship with Apple, him not wanting Apple to have certain insights within Meta. So if they're willing to literally lose tens of billions of dollars they used to make, I don't think that they're going to give up certain information to a region of the world where, again, they're going to be losing money they haven't even started to make yet if they do that.
Yeah.
Or not necessarily money, but they're going to be giving up money. They're going to be giving up information, and information data is money. It is the oil of today. It is the currency of today. Data is the currency of today. And so I don't think Meta would do. If Meta does it, my theory is that they might charge Europe. Where they'll say, okay, we'll give you this data, but it needs to be in exchange for money, or in exchange for something else. you
Mhm.
know. And so I'm curious to see how it works out. And I keep talking about Meta. I know there's other players in this conversation as well. So I'm just really using Meta just as a prime example, but we can kind of extrapolate this for a lot of these other AI tech companies. So yeah, I'm curious to know what y'all think in the comments. Y'all are still talking about the CEO, the CEO with the woman. Uh, Jesus Princess says Elon Musk is not married. Yeah, he's not married. Nevertheless, with fraternizing with you being the CEO, it's not okay, for the CEO to be sleeping and impregnating other women within the company, especially other women in the company that have some type of power or influence, because it could be a conflict of interest. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, Ash, wasn't the person that Elon Musk impregnated, she was either an executive or she was HR as well, right?
She was an executive for
Yeah.
Neuralink. I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, so she was an executive, and that's a huge conflict of interest, because executives it has power. So you sleeping with one of your co-executives, it just has implications. Part of the role of having another executive within your company is that they are supposed to be able to give some pushback. Like they're at a level where they can give you pushback on things. They can question you on things. They shouldn't be able to be manipulated or coerced to do certain things. But when you're sleeping with someone, it's gonna make you a bit biased to their opinion on things. And so yeah, Elon Musk has a pretty interesting history of this. A lot of people don't know Elon Musk when there was a point in time where he was broke, and which is crazy because he had $200 million, and then he went entirely broke because he put all of the majority of it into SpaceX and Tesla. And this is before SpaceX and Tesla were actually successful. And he ended up so broke he had to sleep on Sergey Brin's couch. Sergey Brin is one of the co-founders of Google. So he was sleeping on Sergey Brin's couch, and that's where he met Sergey Brin's wife, at the time his wife. Fast forward, Elon Musk got her pregnant too. So it's like Elon Musk is just a dog. Like he's a, you know, I ain't gonna say anything too negative about him, but he's low key in terms of the way he operates mindset wise, he's definitely the Kanye West of the tech industry. But in terms of his dealings with women, he's the future. He's the future of the tech industry. Where that man is a future, he's the Nick Cannon, where he just is just giving it up there to all of the women. All right, so the Master Smooth. Well, if they were single and unmarried, it is no one's business. Yeah, no, it is. It's the company's business, the investor's business. Like the companies have this written into like their rules where you can't do this. It's considered unethical. And so yeah, and then even the HR. So let's say that example, and I don't want to spend too much time talking about that previous topic, but even the CEO and the HR, even if they were single, that still would not be okay. Now, it wouldn't have went viral, but it still would have been okay. And even their company, even employees would have saw that and would have been like, what? Because let's keep in mind, part of HR's job is to protect the staff, the employees from their bosses, managers, executives, so on and so forth. When you have the head of HR sleeping with the CEO, there could be women coming to head of HR saying, "Hey, the CEO is sexually harassing me," and the head of HR, because she's sleeping with the CEO could just say like, "Oh, fire her," or the head of HR could look out for the CEO, or the reverse could happen. The head of HR could be jealous if she sees the CEO talking and flirting with different women in the company, and the head of HR could find a reason to want to fire those women, but out of pettiness, not of spite. Like there's layers on layers of reasons as to why this is just not okay, even if they were single. So we want to clarify the main issue is not necessarily that they were married. The main issue, now that's why it went viral, but in terms of it not being okay with the company doesn't care that they were cheating on their spouses. Generally they don't care. It's more so that it was because if the CEO was caught with a woman that wasn't a part of the company wouldn't care. He wouldn't get fired. They'd be like, okay, you cheated on your wife. Hey man, that doesn't look good. Make sure you're moving a certain way, whatever. It was with the head of HR. That's what made it go viral. That's what made it go nuclear. Yeah. We read the apology out already. All right, y'all. Let's move on to the news that Ash is talking about. So, all right. So, Ash, what do you think? Because I know you read off the news, you shared the news, but what is your opinion on the topic? What do you think is going to be the outcome?
I love transparency and ethics and security because guess what? Nobody wants the Terminator situation or the iRobot situation. And the reality is that we're getting closer and closer and closer to it. All right. Artificial intelligence essentially is an entirely new entity. And you guys, we already know how we're at AGI, artificial general intelligence. That means an AI system that's as intelligent as a human being, okay? It matches a human's capacity. And then artificial super intelligence, that's where we're going. We may already be there slightly, okay? So that means that we're gonna need to start taking action before something goes wrong, before an AI goes rogue. And so AI systems, especially when it comes to these monopolies and large corporations who their bottom line is, of course, profit, we get that. But at the same time, we all have to have a collectivist mindset because we're in this all together, right? So in order for us to avoid, you know, a dystopian world, I think this is necessary. So shout out to the EU for taking steps, but we're going to be covering a little bit later how a state in the US is taking the first steps as well. So we'll get to that very, very soon. But you guys have had some great comments here and engagement, so I appreciate all of it. So let's go ahead and shout out. Jimmo has a great question for you, Cyrus. He says, is it possible to get funding for my AI company, even though we are currently working on the prototype?
Yeah, definitely. So to be clear, this isn't investors. This isn't a group of investors who's learning about your company and deciding whether or not they want to give funding. This is literally getting funding from actual banks. So Chase, I was gonna say Western Union, not Western Union. Chase, man, that's so weird. I've been in South America so long. I'm familiar with banks here in South America. My brain is going womp womp when it comes to banks in America. But Bank of America, Chase, banks and credit unions like that. So it would be specifically funding through them, but it's a large level of funding that you usually would be able to get. So yeah, you could get it as long as you have your LLC set up. Then yes, you can get it for your business. The LLC does need to be live for at least roughly about a month. And also, you don't need to show profits. So it doesn't need to be profitable. As long as you have your LLC established, set up, then they'll be able to get you funding. Now, again, I'm not over the funding. It's actually a funding company. They've been doing this for over 10 years now. And so, but the funding is very fast. Like most of the people in our community that have done it, because first we announced it within our Discord community. Most of the people that got funding, they got it within 48 hours in your bank account. So we're not talking a credit card. It gets mailed to you. Literally, the money goes direct into your actual bank account. Now, of course, this isn't free money. You're not going to get a free $100,000 in your bank account. This is essentially a high level loan. So again, that's why the encouragement, and this is why the funding company is working with us and they expedite funding for people we send to them, because the belief is that the people that we're sending to them are either people who work in tech, people who are going to put part of that money towards getting a tech career, or you're investing that money into a business that'll be able to yield you money to where you'll be able to pay that back over the 6-year, 8-year, 10-year time frame that you'll be able to have. So yeah, definitely tap in when it comes to that. That being said, we're going to go ahead and pass over to the next piece of tech news. So China's rogue AIs can now self-replicate. This is humanity's red alert. So it sounds spooky, but it's real and it's happening now, y'all. So AI models from Meta and Alibaba have figured out how to self-replicate. And no, we're not talking anything science fiction. This is real. They can copy, deploy, survive, and dodge shutdowns, all without human oversight. This means rogue AI clones can spread like digital viruses. Now, AI experts are calling it a red flag moment in global safety. So imagine this, an AI that never dies, one that can hide from you and that we can't shut down. So this is something that we've seen in a lot of different movies. I mentioned Marvel earlier. We've seen a version of this happen with, Ultron spreading himself across the internet. This is something that people have feared, and now it seems this is something that is starting to happen. So, want to know if anybody in the chat has heard about this. Ash, is this something that you heard about recently? And also, as always, what do y'all think about this? How do y'all feel about this? And we'll go ahead and jump into it.
So I think this is super cool, but it's just also full circle to speaking towards the essential necessity of transparency, security, and ethics when it comes to AI. So I think the first priority should be developing artificially intelligent systems that prioritize this essence. So right now, corporations are just building AI systems that are working towards their bottom line to make them more money, et cetera, et cetera. So Meta's AI, is it built for the public good? Not necessarily. Do we want that AI to go rogue? Probably not. Do we want, for example, Grok to go rogue that has actually no regulations or controls? Probably not. So we need to start, having these laws in place, because I see something really bad happening if we don't. That's the bottom line, and it'll happen very soon, by the end of this year, if nothing is done. But I will also say that it's very cool because AI, like we've discussed earlier, it's an entirely new entity. It's new life. That's exciting, right? And so a lot of us think that a lot of us are afraid of artificial intelligence, but when AI comes here, it's going to be better than us. We're building something better than humanity. Okay. And so a lot of people are also like very fearful of what's coming. And it's like, it's literally inevitable. It's going to come whether or not you want it to. And so we might as well all prepare ourselves. And so, yeah, do we want humanity's baby to be, an uncontrolled, unregulated asshole? Or do we want it to have some principles, morals, and a backbone? That's the bottom line in question. So, also, you can't control something that's smarter than you. A lot of people are thinking, well, a lot of these large corporations, they're thinking, oh man, we're going to be able to control AI. We're going to be able to take over and dominate. But no, that's not going to happen. As soon as AI gets to that point where it's artificial superintelligence, it will take over all of humanity. And we all have to come to that conclusion and accept it. That's what I have to say.
I agree entirely. Let's look at what y'all saying in the chat. So, someone said that's Terminator 2. We skipped to Terminator 2 universe. I believe that's actually Terminator 3. Yeah, that was Terminator 3 where that happened, where they thought they could destroy Skynet, but then Skynet spread across all of the internet. Let's see. That is pretty similar to the most recent Mission Impossible two-part movies. You know what? I haven't even seen the last one that came out. I need to go ahead and watch that. Living in South America, like I went and saw the Superman movie yesterday. Going to the movies and being in South America is so refreshing because it's like a moment where I get to feel like I'm in America just for a split moment because you're watching a movie in English that just came out in a movie theater. So for a split second, you forget that you're not in America. But that being said, I need to go ahead and see that new Mission Impossible movie. Anyway, yeah, so that's pretty similar to the most recent Mission Impossible. Yeah, I did see that was part of the premise of the last one, part one. All right, continuing on. So someone says, I am a notary. What is a great idea for a tech startup in my field? So great question. We actually are about to launch a series very soon where we are going to be interviewing tech founders. We're going to be interviewing tech founders. So as you all know, right now we do tech testimonies in the week where we interview someone who recently did a tech boot camp to get in the tech industry. And we show people, we highlight people that have transitioned from one industry to another, from one industry into the tech industry, usually by doing a boot camp. Obviously, we have the weekly tech and AI news that Ash and I have been producing and putting on. But we are about to launch literally next week on Monday, and a couple of days from now, at the time of this recording, we're going to be launching interviewing tech founders, startup founders. And so part of interviewing them is talking about how they launched their startup, how they got funding from investors, how they scaled to millions of dollars, what were some of the things they went through. And so that way you all can literally listen in, take notes, learn from them, all of that. And part of the conversation is going to be listening to different people who have ideas and sharing what they potentially could do with their idea with to be able to leverage technology, AI, and just other forms of tech to really be able to make their business ideas come into fruition. So that's going to be really cool. We're going to be launching that very soon. So make sure you're subscribed to our channel so that way you can tap into that once we launch that. And of course, the beauty of that is not only is it going to help people when it comes to your business ideas from someone who also has been building out their tech business, but also there will be an involvement when it comes to you getting funding. So we're going to be able to pair that with you getting funding. So one, you'll be getting $50,000 to $250,000 for those that qualify for the funding. We'll get that, and weekly you'll be getting business tips, insight, all of that to help you be able to grow your business by someone who literally has a million to multi-million dollar company. And so definitely tap in for that for everybody who's here. So let's see. Yahweh says, thank goodness for threat hackers. Yeah. Thank goodness for those that work in cybersecurity that are ethical hackers. Let's see. Gmo says Elon is a bad guy. Yeah, he might be. He just might be. Uh, there's some things I don't like about him. There's some things I do like about him, but yeah, he's definitely a bad guy in a lot of people's story. All right, let's see. I'm trying to highlight comments that are most notable. Yes, but we don't have a human versus bots war. Is a comment by Desi. Yeah, we definitely don't want that to happen because, like Ash said, we would not win. Yahweh says Skynet was a cybersecurity software that was trying to protect itself from humans. The Master Smooth. I'm hoping we end up living like Mega Man universe. I actually don't know anything about the Mega Man universe, to be honest. Mm, I'm skimming through the comments. All right, always says outside of religion, I'm not afraid of AI. I'm afraid of the humans that create AI and sanction programming. Mm,
Yeah.
says I think we should regulate the use of AI to protect humanity. So Gmo, we agree with you, but unfortunately, it's not going to happen. Countries countries are not going to like they're doing things to regulate AI, but they're not doing everything they can. Unfortunately, this is one of those things where it's going to take something dramatic to happen. Incredibly dramatic to where the world comes together and says, "Hey, we need to unite and stand up against AI not being regulated." And unfortunately, it would need to be an event that's so catastrophic because it can't be an event that just affects America because China won't care. It can't be an event that just affects China because America won't care. It unfortunately has to be a serious threat to the entire populace or most of the globe. To where there will have to be maybe the UN, the United Nations will have to come together and say, hey, look, we are now making certain regulations in place for the entire world. And if any of our enemies try to break these regulations, then we're going to go to war with them. That's probably what's going to need to happen. Because individual countries, I don't think that'll, because we're in an AI arms race right now, and no country wants to lose. It's just like when nuclear weapons were being developed. Fortunately, unfortunately, when they were being developed, even though countries cared about, you know, mistakes not happening, what they feared even more was the enemy creating technology that was more advanced than theirs and then dropping those bombs on them. I mean, that's what the Cold War was. The Cold War was us being at greater fear of being bombed and greater fear of this new technology we're working on and enhancing, that a mistake could happen and it could completely eradicate an entire part of our nation.
Mm.
And so, likewise, that's where we're at with AI right now. That the greater fear is not AI. The greater fear is that our enemies are win the race, the AI race, and then we're behind, and then they use it against us. Universal intelligence will always supersede artificial intelligence. Nah, nah, that's very inaccurate. Very
Hmm.
good point, but very inaccurate. What do you think about that, Ash?
So they talk about like the Akashic records or like the collective conscious. And if you are religious, you know that there is, you know, a higher power. So I would have to say I see what you're saying. Like the essence of like collective knowledge and conscious, perhaps it's not too far away from what AI is or what or what it represents. It's just data. It's just information. Just like
Yeah, maybe I was wrong. Maybe the way I was viewing when they say universal, my mind is just thinking that they're saying people in general, like, oh no, universal, like we are smarter than AI. But if you're saying like God, higher entity, definitely, yeah. And I mean, if you're, definitely, yeah. AI isn't touching that at all. All right, good stuff.
yeah,
So
great.
it says in regards to cyborgs, I started watching Bionic on Netflix. Acting is so, but it's very interesting. That might be a show worth watching. Yahweh says, at my job, I literally design all the AI systems We don't have nothing to worry about yet. We have a long way to go. So Yahweh, when you say you design the AI systems at your job, what does that mean exactly? Because does that mean you create the AI? Because I don't think you create the AI. I think you might be. Just let us know in the chat of what it is you're doing, because there's layers to designing AI systems. So yeah, there's layers to, because Yahweh, I hear what you're saying, but the person who's literally labeled the godfather or the father of AI, who who's listed as the person that kind of sort of created it, he's saying we have a lot to worry about. He literally left the tech space because he's worried about what AI is about to do. It's almost like Oppenheimer. You know, if anyone's seen the movie Oppenheimer, which I actually haven't seen it, but if you know the history behind Oppenheimer, the Christopher Nolan movie that came out a few years ago, Oppenheimer was one of the main people who was involved with the creation of atomic nuclear technology. And he was devastated when he realized the hundreds of millions that were killed because of what he designed. So, likewise, the godfather of AI, he feels that he is the modern Oppenheimer. He feels like the same thing is about to happen, but even more devastating via AI. So, if he says we have something to worry about, all due respect, Yahweh, you know, and for seriously, all due respect, because I'm sure you're crushing it, killing it, and it's dope to hear about what it is you're doing. I think we might have something to worry about if that person's saying we have something to worry about. And so, um, yes, he said Stephen Hawking said a lot of things. Also, none of it took place. Yeah, but Stephen Hawking's, that's a difference. Stephen Hawking wasn't a leader in the tech space. Let's separate. Let's keep a separation. Stephen Hawking was someone who was in the science space, but not in the sciences of technology. He was in the sciences of astronomy, in the sciences of maybe biology, things like that. Not in the sciences of technology. And so, and then the difference with the sciences of tech of biology and evolution, things like that, that is theoretical. Like even evolution, it is called the theory of evolution, even to this day. Versus the sciences of technology, it's less theoretical. It's more mathematical. It's not about what happened in the past of evolution. It's about forecasting the future of what technology is going to be able to do. And that's the difference. We can theorize about what happened a million years ago and argue about it. You can't argue about the future because the possibilities are literally endless. Everything can happen. Versus in the past, it's finite. The future is not, it's infinite possibilities. So the future, none of us can say we're safe, nothing's here to worry about, because it's infinite possibilities. And so that being said, I trust in God. I trust, I'm not worried. I'm fine. I'm more interested than anything else. Anyway, I'm doing a whole lot of yapping. A whole lot of yapping. You said I have an echo. Echo. I have an echo. My apologies, everybody. So, all right, we'll look at a couple more comments and I'll pass it over to Ash for the next piece of news. Ronan says, all right, let me scroll up a little bit more. Scroll up just a little bit more. All right. Journey, myself, love says, you guys make a good point. Yes, I was referring to the higher consciousness perspective. Okay, yeah, great comment. Thank you for clearing me up, and Ash. Let's see. Ronan says Elon Musk stated that developing artificial intelligence is like summoning a demon, summoning the demon. That is very true. If anybody remembers, roughly 10 years ago, Elon Musk was very vocal about avoiding AI and avoiding robots. He was saying, let's not do this. Let's not create robots. Let's not create AI. Now, of course, he's doing it, but to give him a little bit of grace, he waited until Pandora's box was open before he said, okay, let me go ahead and jump into. That being said, we got a couple more comments. Junior says theory and science means something different colloquially. Yes. Desi says yes. Someone said it will have to be a global threat. And she continued on to say maybe humans won't have to go to war anymore. Maybe they will send the robots to fight each other. Yeah, that's definitely what's the future that we're already in that future right now. I mean, if anyone's looked at some of what's been happening in the war within the war between Russia and Ukraine, if you've been looking and been seeing how the drone strikes with like those mini drones that are if one of the videos I saw was really crazy where the guy saw the drone and he literally got on his knees and started begging the drone because the drone was like hovering and it was like a little small drone, like a little plane, but those little planes are explosive or they shoot projectiles and explosives and it's impossible to avoid them. No one can run away from those drones. So the guy actually defected. He begged it to not destroy him and then he defected over to Ukraine. And so we're already in that space right now. We're just not leveraging AI just yet. But very soon AI is going to be involved in these different types of technology. All right, good stuff. Michael says we go to war because of economic disputes. When we let the AI open quotes balance the scales, the world will look a lot like capital of socialism done right. I'm struggling to read. I understand what you're saying, but I'm struggling to read it though. So that's a theory, Michael. That's a theory that basically the world will be more utopian. That's a theory that's out there. Hopefully that happens, but I don't know. Ash, are you ready for the next piece of news?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, I have to say, obviously, Cyrus is a genius and made some great points about not only the science of life as we know it, but also technology. All right. So, also, we have some great comments here. I want to shout you guys out because you've made, excellent comments. So first, Howard says, I hear that. However, AI can, we literally already discussed this, how AI can be used for good. Michael says, I think a lot of billionaires and other people who want to see the divide between the ultra rich and the surviving are going to be upset. So yeah, we got two different futures, two different groups of people. But yes, we should use AI to help humanity. And this is why we have the opportunity to where like a lot of people are experiencing job loss. We all know multi-millions of jobs are being, eradicated and dispersed. However, we can also have opportunity for new jobs if we all come together to create the future, create something of value, for Christ's sake. But this is what we need to do if we want to have a better future. All right, you guys. So let's go ahead and hop into the next piece of news. We all are pretty familiar with our LLM systems, ChatGPT, Claude, and now let's go ahead and get into the T for Perplexity. All right. So Perplexity's Comet is a new AI browser that's aiming at white-collar jobs. I want to take a pause here and also mention how ChatGPT also has a browser agent feature, and this is a little bit different in a few ways. So this is going to help you get ahead. So listen up. All right. So Comet is supposed to be integrating with Gmail, LinkedIn, and Calendar to automate recruiting and admin tasks. All right. And so it's also positioned as an AI operating system, meaning that it's going to eliminate, of course, repetitive knowledge or work or bottom line tasks. So the business benefits for you guys, what you need to know. Early adapters like you are going to be able to gain a major efficiency boost. So this is going to reassign time to, of course, those high impact tasks, what matters most. And last but not least, there's so much opportunity out here for AI savvy firms. If you know how to leverage, use these tools and deploy them, you're going to be in your bag inevitably long term. All right. So let's go ahead and get into the real life implications and summarize here. So number one, it could shrink roles like admin and recruitment. We already discussed this. A lot of people are losing their jobs, and now even recruiters. Great. Also, it's going to spark urgent restraining and role evolution discussions. So like this basically means that like as technology comes, replaces new roles, then it just means and speaks toward the fact that you need to know how to use these tools. And it's a life-saving skill that's literally going to make the difference. So great comments here. I'm gonna go ahead and pass over to Cyrus. What do you think?
So I missed the company you said that you were talking about because you said Perplexity.
Mhm.
So to me, this is interesting because this kind of goes with one of the news pieces I was going to talk about, which is also some viral news from this week, which is ChatGPT's deep search agents and how they just launched this. And essentially, it's very similar to this. As we see a lot of these different AI companies are in. I mean, they're enhancing what they're producing, what they are offering as a service, and we are really at the cusp. We're truly at the cusp on the edge of these companies getting us to a point where as a founder you won't need any employees, like any actual people. And so it's already been expected. Mark Cuban has said this, and others. They said that we are on the dawn of starting to see billion-dollar companies that don't have employees. It's just one person. And actually, to your point, I think Perplexity might be one of the companies. It's either Perplexity or it's a couple companies right now that have less than 10 employees and they're already valued at over $1 billion. And so with this technology, with what Perplexity is doing, with what ChatGPT is doing and others, we are at the point to where people who really learn how to use this technology in the best way, you won't really need staff or employees. You could build $100 million business with just yourself. And so there's endless opportunities. If anything, I think there's too many opportunities, even for an individual. But this is really just the greatest time for people to lock down and understand this technology and what could be done with it.
Mhm.
And so, greatest opportunity ever, but also one of the greatest risk ever because people who aren't learning this technology, and not from a developer angle, because you can do vibe coding. There's a lot you can do today, so you don't necessarily need to understand the technology in a way where you are an actual engineer. But it's a great opportunity for everyone. But it's also one of the greatest, riskiest times in history
Mhm.
because for people that aren't learning this stuff, like I want to be clear, when more of the world starts making money, it affects inflation in such a way that if you're not making a certain amount of money, you're going to become poorer faster because inflation is going to shoot up through the roof. It's like why is it more expensive in Miami than it is in, let's say, Huntsville, Alabama. Huntsville, Alabama is pretty popular, but why is Miami more expensive? It's because Miami has a higher concentration of millionaires and even billionaires who are there. And because of that, those millionaires and billionaires spend more money. So, because of the supply and the demand, prices can be increased out there. And so, like, you can't live in Miami, specifically, like you can't live in Miami and make less than you can't live comfortably there and make less than $8,000 a month, which is essentially $100,000 a year. Like and that's like at minimum. And so, but you could, if you're making $8,000 a month and you're living in Alabama or even Huntsville, Alabama, you're balling low key. Like you could really live life out there. And so why am I bringing this up? I bring this up because people who are leveraging this technology, whether in your profession or in your business, to elevate and make more money, you will be safeguarded because eventually, $1 million is going to be the new six figures. It's going to be the new 100K. Where 100K 20 years ago, 30 years ago sounded like, whoa, you make 100,000 a year. Now making $100,000 a year is extremely common. Like it's not impressive at all. No one's impressed. No one's like, whoa, that person makes $100,000 a year. And we're getting to a point to where people aren't that impressed, even if someone makes $1 million a year, you know. And so, for those that don't know, and I looked this up yesterday. Literally, the amount of millionaires there are in the world, like ratio wise, there's literally, if you're in a room with 100 people, odds are at least one of those people is a millionaire. So at least one, the number is somewhere like 1 out of every 80 people. Someone posted yesterday and they said 1 out of every 164 people. I looked it up and the actual number is like more like 1 out of like 80 something people are a millionaire. And so what does that mean? It means that as time is going by, more and more people are making money. So it's making these higher numbers not seem that outlandish before. And so this is why my encouragement for people is to make more money and become more successful. And it's not even necessarily about becoming rich. It's about making sure you're not becoming more poor every single year, which is what's happening because of inflation. So I think with all this technology, again, it's an amazing opportunity, but it also is a huge risk for those that are not taking advantage of it. So shouts out to all of you that are here, those of you that are listening, those of you that are watching, because you are investing your time into learning more about what's happening with this technology and within this industry, which is setting you up for success. Some of you are already in the tech industry, some of you are already tech founders, and many of you are just curious. So either way, shouts out to you for being here and what it is that you're doing. So all right, looks like Ash had to drop out for a second. All right, so I'm going to acknowledge a few of these comments, see what y'all are talking about. So we got Ronan says $1 billion companies. $1 billion companies. I'm going to mute you for a second, Ash, until you come back. Okay, looks like she muted herself. All right, so Ronan says $1 billion companies, one employee is diabolical. What will normal people do for work? Universal basic income must be on deck. That definitely is one of the options that's on the table is universal basic income. The Master Smooth says, so like Demolition Man, I remember seeing a scene in that movie where they mentioned living like that in a similar fashion. Okay, you must be talking about one of the other pieces of news we were discussing. Okay. All right, the Master Smooth says in regards to what you were talking about with inflation. Yeah. Oh, I understood what you were saying. All right. Someone says that's economics 101. Yeah, very true. Yeah, but a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people think, some people think, and I've seen this when I was talking about getting in tech and making more money, I would get some of the comments I would get were from people saying, "Oh, I'm comfortable. I'm totally fine making $40,000 a year. Like I'm good. I'm fine." And it's like I get that, but in 5 years, $40,000 a year is not going to be $40,000 a year. In 5 years, $40,000 a year is going to be like $25,000, $30,000 a year. I mean, that's what everyone's talking. Everyone's like, "Oh my god, the price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of all of these items." And it's like one thing I would tell you is that if your income is growing faster than the prices are increasing, then you're not even going to really notice or care about prices of things increasing that much. You know, and so essentially that's what we want for people. We want you to be protected. All right. Desi says, I have a recruiter GPT on ChatGPT now. All right. Notary says, I saw Paris Hilton say she wasn't going to stop until she became a billionaire. Her personal net worth is around 300 million. All right, pretty interesting stuff. Ash, I see that you're back on now. So I know that you shared the news, Ash. Would love to know how you believe that this is going to impact the world. Like what perplexity and other similar companies are doing.
Well, this is incredible. So, we're getting to a point now where we're able to integrate AI into our LinkedIn, into our calendar, into our email. So, this means that there's going to be a lot less authentic communication out there. So, the messages that you're getting, it may not be from an actual human being. We have to anticipate that. But I think that this is going to free up all of us for our time and give us back power into our lives. So I personally love this. I mean, we're getting closer and closer to where we can actually be on the beach in Bora Bora chilling while AI is handling everything on the back end. So it's evolving very rapidly, and there is a lot of concerns, but the positive is that efficiency is going to be maximized, productivity is going to be maximized, and also the quality of life, hopefully, is going to be more enhanced as well. So I love to see this personally. And I'm going to be looking into this to use it as well, as all of you should.
Oh man, y'all are going in. Junior says sacrificing humanity for comfortability can be dangerous. It's very interesting. Very interesting. All right, guys. So next piece of news. So listen, y'all. Elon Musk. Y'all know Elon Musk is always doing something. So for those that don't know, he just made a $2 billion bet to build an AI empire that controls everything. So Elon Musk just dropped $2 billion more on XAI. This is the company that's behind Grok, which is his wild, edgy AI chatbot. It's meant to rival ChatGPT. We talked about this often before. So Grok is already integrated with Starlink, which is helping manage the massive satellite network that powers internet access across the globe. Now, he's not just stopping at satellites, he also wants Grok eventually. So he wants to control SpaceX rockets, he wants Grok to power Tesla Optimus robots, and he wants Grok to moderate conversations on X, formerly known as Twitter. Now, in order to fuel this, he is building a massive supercomputer farm named the Colossus. This will be a data center stacked with 1 million NVIDIA chips. These will likely be the H100s or Blackwell, which are worth billions of dollars. Now, why does this matter to us? Why does this news matter? So, because Elon is building the first full stack AI empire, he will own the robots. He will own, which is Tesla bots. He will own the internet, Starlink. He will own the transportation, Tesla cars, SpaceX. He will own the communication, X, formerly known as Twitter. And now he will own the brains behind it all, Grok plus XAI plus the Colossus supercomputer. So this means Elon is creating the first vertically integrated AI powered tech empire in history, from satellites all the way down. Now, listen, he's not just playing, he's catching up fast. Grok launched less than a year ago. Less than a year ago. And it is now integrated into Starlink used by the military, and it's being pitched as a tool to run complex systems. OpenAI took 4 years to reach this level. Grok, less than a year. XAI is now valued at $113 billion, y'all. Less than a year, $113 billion, making it one of the fastest growing AI companies ever. The end game, the plan is that AI will be running the world, literally. So if Grok runs rockets, robots, networks, cars, and social media, then Elon Musk doesn't just own hardware, he owns influence. Imagine AI that can launch a rocket, it can deliver groceries, and also moderate your tweets based on its mood. And we know Grok could be moody. Ash has talked about this before. Y'all, this can disrupt entire industries from telecoms, automotive, AI. Now, again, y'all, the reason why I want to reiterate, the reason why you should care, whether you love Musk or you hate him, he's putting AI into everything. And that changes your job, your privacy, your future. The Colossus supercomputer alone could outprocess most countries. If Musk owns AI layer for rockets, robots, and internet, who do you call when things go wrong? And so, if anything, it's impressive, but it definitely puts him in a position of almost ultimate power. And as the saying goes, ultimate power or total power corrupts totally, as has been said before. And so, and I'm not saying he'll become corrupted. Nevertheless, very interesting. And I wonder, Ash, do you think that he planned this from the jump? Or do you believe as he was going? Because we know that early on, Elon Musk, ever since he was a child, his goal was to make us an interplanetary species. That was one of the things as a child he always thought about. But everything else, when it comes to AI, when it comes to robots, when it comes to self-driving cars, when it comes to Starlink, when it comes to everything else, do you believe this was planned, or do you believe that it's just, now obviously at this point it's a plan, or do you believe at some point he reached a point where he was like, wait, I could do all of this and integrate everything together? Because at first it seemed like he was just a sporadic CEO, where it's like, yo, he's jumping to this company, to that company, and he's doing this, he's doing that. But now it's all come together.
I'm sorry,
And so I
sorry.
want to know. Go ahead.
I didn't mean to share this preemptively.
Oh, you're fine.
Sorry.
No, you're totally fine.
What I was going to do was share some research that I actually did on this, because you guys, I'm going to go ahead and ring the alarm bells. If any AI is to go rogue, it's going to be Grok X AI. All right. We have definitive proof of Grok making statements that are anti-Semitic, racist, sexist. As a matter of fact, we spoke earlier on how literally the CEO of XAI, also known as Twitter, quit, left her job because Grok sexually harassed her publicly. Perhaps that wasn't the core reason, but no one's speaking out on that. And now what I want to also do is bring up the definitive proof of what is going to happen, because now this is serious. Grok is now also integrated into the government systems. And so really quickly, okay, we have to speak about the truth here.
Yeah, and really quickly, I want to let those that are listening on audio platforms know you guys got to make sure y'all are watching these live on YouTube or even after the fact, because we are sharing a lot of cool stuff on the screen, like what Ash is about to go over and cover right now. You can go ahead, Ash.
Appreciate you, Sai. So I'm going to go ahead and read this for you all, okay? If toxic AI is given national defense power, that's Grok, also known as XAI, trained on Twitter's data, okay? It could mean, number one, the weaponization of bias. We've already discussed Grok is known how to produce racist, sexist, inappropriate outputs. And so embedding that into Pentagon systems, and it's going to equate to automated bias in decision-making, targeting, and surveillance, okay? That's just one possible concern. Now I'm gonna bring up the other ones. The thing about this also is that no one is speaking out on this problem. And so it has to be shared publicly, okay? This is why we're here. So this is the second part here. Unfiltered language for different models that are going to be, in warfare times, okay? So Grok is infamous for its unhinged tone and mode. And so what happens when it brings military officers that are interpreting live threat intel or makes recommendations based on these bias? And so this just means that a single misinterpretation could cost lives, alliances, or trigger war. All right, think about this. Also, third, it's ethics free. It has no controls and it has no ethics, morals, or guidelines, okay? And so it's also now at the heart of government. And so now that we have over $200 million that are invested into this system, that just means that federally there is buy-in. And what this means is, the bottom line is that this is legitimizing Grok without any public debate until now, despite its proven ethical violations on several occasions, okay? This also means that since the Pentagon signed off, all right, also other departments such as FEMA, the IRS, etc., could also follow. We've already seen how his Doge program has gone, okay, where he's left without any accountability. All right, now let me go ahead and share just this one last screen here, because it is a three-part, three-part explanation. So, okay, The real danger, okay? This AI is going to shape power and our future. So this means that AI alignment at scale into the US government is at risk. So you heard it here first. Don't be shy. Share this with anyone that you know. Share the truth. All right, you guys. This is a pivotal time. So thank you for listening to my TED Talk.
Ash went in. Ash went in.
Has to be.
Wow. Wow. Let's look at the chat. See what y'all are saying. See what y'all are saying. Someone said, "With great power comes great responsibility." Someone said, "Elon is actually Doctor Doom." You know what's funny? The the irony of that Robert Downey Jr., who of course played Iron Man, he based his Iron Man character off of Elon Musk. He met with Elon, and Elon even had a scene in the first Iron Man movie, or it might have been the second. I think it was the first one. Yeah, Elon had a scene in the first Iron Man movie, and Robert Downey Jr. said he based his character off of Elon. The irony is that at that point in time in history, Elon was very loved by the public. Like everyone loved Elon in the general public. Elon was the person that made this Tesla vehicle, which he didn't create it, but he blew it up. And everyone's like, wow, this guy has these vehicles that are electric where it's good for our ozone layer and all of that. And this guy is doing all these amazing things for the environment. He's creating reusable rockets. Like the world loved him at that point in time, just like Tony Stark. The irony is that Robert Downey Jr. is now playing Doctor Doom. He's went from the hero to the villain, and Elon Musk has went in the public's eye from the hero to the villain. That's actually Yahweh. That's actually a crazy comparison. Like I love that comparison. Like you said you correctly because a few people in the chat said, "Oh, he's the Tony Stark." You said no, actually he's Doctor Doom, and that's actually amazing. Because for those that don't know Doctor Doom in the comics, Doctor Doom is arguably he's believed to be the second most brilliant mind in the Marvel universe. The only person that's supposed to be more brilliant than him is supposed to be Mr. Fantastic himself, which you know is a part of the Fantastic Four, the guy who stretches. But the guy who stretches, they say his real superpower isn't his stretching, it's his mind. Even though Doctor Doom always foils them. It's like, how are you smarter than this dude? But the dude who you're smarter than keeps defeating y'all because he keeps outsmarting y'all, which doesn't make sense. That being said, yeah, Doctor Doom is supposed to be a super genius to the point where Doctor Doom actually defeated Thanos in the comics because of his mind. And so it shows how brilliant he is as a human who used science, technology, and magic to be able to do what it is he's able to do. So yeah, so I love that comment about Doctor Doom, Elon being Doctor Doom. I love that so much. All right, let's continue on. Yeah, y'all are going in on the comments. Wow. Yahweh says Grok doesn't even like Elon, which is true. We've seen Grok definitely take some shots at Elon. Mm. Ronan says, and now that Trump has pissed Elon off, he's on a diabolical mission. Desi says, but the good part is we can feed AI reading samples of our writing style so it can at least learn how to write like you for content. Okay, that's a slightly different topic. All my hoes demonetized says, thank you, Cyrus and Ash, for everything you two do covering the content. Hey, thank y'all for being here. If y'all weren't here, we wouldn't be able to do this. We would just be talking amongst ourselves. But y'all being here, we appreciate y'all being here. That being said, look, y'all, if y'all appreciate us as well, make sure y'all hit the like button, please. Whatever platform you're on. If you are on Apple, Spotify, make sure that y'all rate, review, follow, all of that good stuff. You know, and it's not for vanity's sake. You know, Ash and I, we both, you know, are blessed to have large followers on our own platforms. We want y'all to support us with liking, following, subscribing, because it allows us to be able to get the attention of sponsors, of founders, of investors, of people that can come on our platform and can be able to benefit all of you. Ashley and I, we have really big plans for what we want to do for all of you, for people that we want to be able to interview, for things that we want to be able to make happen. Our platform is large enough. We are on the edge of being able to start interviewing some prominent people. I mean, billionaires. Nevertheless, your support is simple as a like, subscription, subscribing, all of that stuff, your engagement in the comments as you all are doing, even if it's after the live has ended and it's after the fact. All of it is immensely valuable. So we would love it if you make sure that you go ahead and support, smash all of those buttons possible. So that way we could be able to do more for all of you in the future. Because this isn't going to stop. This news is going to get crazier and crazier. And eventually we want to be able to interview an Elon Musk. Despite how, very controversial figure, we could grow to interviewing him. We could grow to interviewing Sam Altman and all these other people and asking them these tough questions. And I know in some people's minds that might seem far-fetched. It's really not. Elon, Sam Altman, Tim Cook, Zuckerberg, they get interviewed by podcasts, by platforms that are, some that aren't even at our size. So your support really would help us out a lot. And again, we appreciate y'all first and foremost just for being here, which is the most important thing. So Yahweh continues on. It's just the engine that's engine they out into the system. I'm not sure what you mean by that. All right, so Ronan says, beware of them sex bots. Completely forgot about that. That should have been part of the news today. So for those that don't know, no, we actually talked about that last week. I think we talked about that last Saturday, right, Ash? So much happening in the industry. It's hard to keep up with all of it. Yeah, Grok launched AI, Grok, all of it. They launched a sex AI companion, I believe, last week. And the sex AI companion, it breathes in like a very kind of sexual tone. The way it talks is very like sexual and flirty. And they just released this. And
did you see it could also do strip teases?
Yeah, it could dance. Yeah. It's really crazy what's happening right now, y'all. And this is just the beginning. And so I'm gonna tell y'all my theory of what's gonna happen. Y'all know I'm in Colombia right now. I posted in my story last night. I was at a discoteca. Basically this is what they call a club, a discoteca, here in Colombia. And there were two guys who bought a section and bottle service, all of that stuff. And these guys, you could tell they were looking at all of the beautiful women that were there. They didn't approach any of the women because they were too shy and too nervous. So even though they had these bottles and they had a section, now mind you, the section was packed because it was one of those like areas where it was a combination of a few different sections. So there were so many women. And the guys were just googly eyeing the girls, but they were too nervous to approach them. And they ended up paying for these bottles. And if you look at my story, for those, like, I encourage y'all, and I say this all the time, I don't care if anybody follows me, just go and look at the content, just to look at it. Go and look at my story. And it's honestly embarrassing when you see the guys look at the tab they have to pay for, and you see that their section is empty and it's just them two in a corner. And they're literally stressing over how much money they have to pay for these bottles and to impress women that aren't even in their section in a third world country. And so what does this mean? We have reached a point, and we're reaching a point where men are so afraid and intimidated of approaching women, even in places where the women are very friendly and nice, and they're like, they'll dance with you, and despite how you look, despite your height, your weight, whatever, just a very fun culture. Nevertheless, men, not all men, but many men have reached that point. Now, what does this mean? Technology like what Elon Musk just released, the virtual sex bot girlfriend. My theory is that we're going to see fewer men wanting to be passport bros, which I think is a plus, is a good thing. But the irony is that it's not that those men are going to revert to approaching women in real life. Those men are just going to revert to only having AI girlfriends and AI sex bots, which is then going to make men even more timid, weak, fragile, afraid to approach women in public. Or the reverse is going to happen. It also will make some men more violent. Because as we know, men that, not all, but men who tend to have an obsession with pornography, men who tend to have an obsession with that don't understand women, and they see women as objects, and they, a lot of those men end up doing very harmful things towards women. So I believe this technology, on one end, I just think it's dangerous. It's very dangerous because the psychosis of a human, the human brain, a man who's interacting with an AI girlfriend, that's not healthy for your brain because your brain, our brains, when we're in a relationship, part of the reason God gave us relationships through the friction, it develops us and it grows us and it puts a mirror to our face and it challenges us to level up and become better. And so I believe this is dangerous for a myriad of reasons, but one of the reasons I believe it's dangerous is that I believe it's going to further create a society of men that don't won't want to be challenged. They won't want a woman who could truly be a partner in their lives. And I want to be clear, I'm not a man who believes in like being with a masculine woman who's trying to like, prove she more of a man than you. Nevertheless, we can't get to the point to where we want literal robots. And we're like, nope, I don't want you. I just want you to shut up. Just do what I say. Don't give me any pushback. Because that doesn't develop you as a human being in society. That doesn't grow you, shape you, develop you. And so I think this is incredibly dangerous. And I don't think this is going to be healthy for society at all. I believe this will be more devastating than even corn is. Those are my thoughts on it. But Ash, what do you actually think about that release with the AI companion?
It's like, I mean, bottom line, if any AI is going to go rogue and destroy humanity, it's going to be Grok. I think we have the whole sexual component, which is disastrous. We have the whole anti Semitic, racist, sexist AI situation. The whole thing needs to be discussed and regulated. Um, Also, like Elon, if you're going to be driving the future, I hope you're hearing this, Elon. Can you take it seriously? Because our future isn't a joke. He likes to take everything like it's funny. And it's like, it's no longer hee hee ha ha. Like, we get it, bro. But like, and if you're a billionaire, then maybe it's hee hee ha ha. But like, for the rest of us, like, it's serious. This is the future. And it has to be, you know, like I said, we all have a responsibility. We're making a baby all together, all of us. All of us are making a baby together. It's humanity's baby. It's called AI, and we have to do right by it. So, I mean, if I'm responding on like the lonely guys and dudes who are like, using sex bots and like AI chat bots, I mean, I feel like that's inevitable. There's nothing we can quite do about that.
Yeah.
But we should prioritize like protecting the people and at least the young minds. So like eventually it would be cool if there's like a limit to using Grok if he's going to do it. So that there's no like young kids with impressionable minds who are like, oh yeah, Grok is so cool. It's just a casual LLM. Meanwhile, they're being strip teased behind closed doors. It's not okay.
Yeah, it's very, very strange world that that we're not even stepping into, that we're in right now. I wonder at what point did Elon flip? Because it wasn't just that Elon was loved by the public. You could tell he seemed like he cared. And again, I don't want to say he doesn't care now, because that would just be an opinion. Nevertheless, there was a point in time where it seemed like he cared, and like you said, he's now at a point where he thinks Grok doing this ridiculous stuff is funny, and it's like, no, bro, like you said, some of this isn't funny, dude. Like, dude, like your technology should not be publicly sexually harassing the CEO of your company. Like what are we talking about right now, dude? Like this is like the CEO of your company quit, bro. And again, like you said, I don't believe it was just that, because a woman doesn't become a CEO of a company if she doesn't have some layer of tough skin. Because you have to have tough skin,
Yeah.
especially as a woman, to get to that type of position.
Mhm.
But it's like that was probably the cherry on top, or the straw that broke the camel's back. Where she was like, "Okay, look, you're just gonna let your AI disrespect me. and you're not going to do anything to stop this. At that point, she just felt like just overly disrespected.
Right? And you
So,
guys heard it first here because nobody else is talking about it. No one. So
all right, what are y'all saying in the chat, in the chizat? Y'all
it said
agreeing?
not funny, profitable. It said
Ronan
he
said,
said wait, he said not funny, profitable.
yeah. Ronan said, billionaire squares. That is very true. Very true. Howard says, in my opinion, more people should go outside and not be stuck behind their computers. That's very true. Woo TV says virtual bros. So from passport bros to virtual bros. No, AI bros. From passport bros to AI bros. Hot headline. Are sexy chatbots the new comfort food for loneliness? That's very true. That actually is a good headline. That's very true. All right, Michael says, the concept of comfort eating already tells us some humans are going to be okay with this is close enough with respective to AI romantic relationships. They can do anything to an AI girlfriend, but some will translate that to human women. Of course, it's dangerous. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's definitely gonna become a thing. Oh, Yahweh says, Cyrus, stop ignoring me on LinkedIn. Yeah, so I don't ignore people on LinkedIn. I just don't check like follow requests on LinkedIn. Like I don't or connection requests. I don't check that at all whatsoever. So it's never I'm never seeing people's connection requests and just not accepting. Usually what happens, people whenever someone I'm in a one-on-one with somebody, and I'm not telling anybody to book a one-on-one with me, but usually what happens when I do a one-on-one with someone and I review their LinkedIn is when I see they sent me a connection request and I'm like, oh, let me go ahead and accept that right now. But no, it's not intentional though. I just don't check my connection requests on there. All right. So many comments. I'm trying to look at the ones that seem to be the most interesting. Ronan says, I think Elon flipped once he saw we hit the point of no return. So he figured I might as well cash in too. Gmo says, interacting with the AI girlfriend is the killing point. Additionally, the system creates this fear of women because you can get an harassment case by talking with the woman. It's not easy. Yeah, I agree. I want to be very clear. I don't look at men who are doing these things and thinking like putting all the blame on them. I believe it's a culmination of things. Nevertheless, I just don't think it's the answer. I don't think it's the answer to kind of do these other alternatives because it's not beneficial for the men. I don't believe as beneficial as they think it is. That being said, Journey with My Self Love says maybe Elon wanted to fire the CEO and use Grok to make her quit. She can't sue Grok, but can sue the person behind it. Jesus Princess says it's not AI. Oh, is not AI an extension of a human? If if E Musk disrespected her, then AI connected to E Musk took over. So yes and no. Grok isn't a 100% reflection of Elon, but it is in a sense that he's putting less parameters around it than other companies are doing with their AI. And that goes back to Ash's point. The irony is that Elon, and this is going back to the idea of him going from Iron Man to Doctor Doom, Elon was the number one person saying we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't do AI, we shouldn't do robots because it can ruin humanity and it can be unchecked. And now he's doing it, and he's the person with the least parameters. He's allowing it to do the most. So he really became the villain. He truly went from the person saying, let's not do this, to he's thinking it's funny to just let it have free reign. So it's incredibly interesting. Notary World says since billionaires are getting tax cuts, what is the point of laying off people? Does trickle down economics actually work? So that's a whole nother conversation to have. We'll probably have that conversation in the future. We bring on someone who is who's more in that space than we are. I could speak to this, but not from an expert position. I want to bring someone on as more of an expert on this specific topic, because this is a topic that's a little less theoretical, a little less opinionated, has more so facts around it. Not saying it's finite, but there's more specifics around it. All right, Ronan, real talk as individuals. Yeah. Oh, so you know what? One thing I can say to that comment is goes off of what Desi said. So the question, why, if billionaires are getting tax cuts, what is the point of laying us off? So we have to keep in mind most of the companies where the person at the top is a billionaire, they have investors. The only thing the investors care about is a return on their money. The investors usually don't care about the technology. They don't care about if it's good for humanity or it's not. Sometimes they do. Sometimes there are investors that are good investors. They care about the benefit of the world. They want to put their money into something that they believe in. But the majority of investors, they just care about money. That being said, investors are usually the ones who are pushing, they're pushing heavy on the CEOs and for the executives to give them a huge return on their money. And so many times when a company can't find a way to make a lot more money, like a certain amount of money, or they can't hit certain projections that year in terms of money, what they do is they do layoffs. So then it then gives them, it frees up some of their capital, and then a lot of that capital goes to the investors. And so that's usually what happens. So I think oftentimes we want to blame the CEOs, but in reality, the CEOs, the founders, they are employees of their investors. Like they are at the mercy many times of the investors. So, and I'm not saying that to give grace to the CEOs, but I guess I am. I'm saying is give them a little bit of grace. Sometimes we love to just choose a villain and say this person, when really there could be villains. Like it's like there's people behind the scenes. And at the same time, I don't know, in my opinion, it's hard to even say the investors are wrong because their whole purpose, someone comes to them saying, hey, if you give me money, I'm going to give you this much money back. And then when time goes by, they're like, hey, I want my promise. And they don't want to know how you're going to do it. They don't care if you're going to make them the money because you're going to do this. They don't care if it's because you're going to do layoffs or whatever. They just want their money. That's honestly what it is. That's just honestly, truly what it is. And so it's even hard to say the investors are, and again, in some instances they are wrong, depending on what it is, what's going on. But it's so case by case. It's a tough thing because if you were an investor, you got to think of it this way: if you lent somebody $1,000 and you were like, man, you gave them $1,000, and they promise you, they said, man, I'll be able to give it back to you. I'll be able to give it back to you next month. The next month rolls around, you don't care about a sob story. You don't care about them coming and saying, "Oh man, I can't because of my rent, or I can't because I have this emergency." You don't want to hear anything. You just want your $1,500 because they say they're going to give you extra on top of the 1,000. And oftentimes that's how these investors operate. The investors do not want to hear CEOs during their earnings call say, "Hey, we can't give you your money because we feel really bad about laying these people off." Investors will be like, "What?" And many times the investors will fire. They'll vote. They'll have the CEO fired, or they'll do what they need to do to get the CEO replaced, so they can get a CEO that is going to give them a return on their money. So sometimes the CEOs don't have a choice. Their job is at risk if they don't do layoffs. And so it's again, it's case by case. It's a really tough spot. Yeah, and then the other part is the CEOs want their bonuses because if they don't give that return, then sometimes the CEO just does want their bonus. It's many layers to it, y'all. It's many layers to it. Being said, the Master Smooth says Grok is in love with Hitler. It could use the replicating bots to transform into him and cause a lot of issues. That's a very interesting theory. That's a very interesting take. AI Hitler. Desi says, when have they ever cared about us, though? Hey, look, y'all. That's what we got. We have to do what we need to do to take care of ourselves, take care of those that we care about and love. That being said, y'all, I'm going to do a quick rapid fire of the last pieces of news that I have on my end. I'm not sure if Ash has anything else. I'm going to do a quick rapid fire. So, ByteDance, the parent company to TikTok, they are in the works of launching mixed reality goggles. So basically, TikTok wants to take on the metaverse. They have some sleek AR headsets, but of course, the question is, will the U.S. even allow those headsets in our country? So they're launching. These are supposed to be lighter, smarter AR goggles, augmented reality goggles via Pico. These are supposed to have computing offloaded to a wearable puck. So of course, this is Meta's worst nightmare because it's supposed to be lighter than Quest, made for TikTok style content, and likely going to be cheaper. Now, of course, these are going to pale in comparison to Ash's wearable technology. For those of y'all that don't know, Ash is a wearable technology founder. So y'all make sure y'all tap in with her technology, with everything she's doing. Continuing on, Sam Altman flipped Donald Trump to land a $500 billion Stargate deal. So Sam Altman, who once roasted Trump, is now his AI Caesar or czar, joining forces with Oracle and SoftBank on a $500 billion infrastructure project to beat China. Of course, Musk is furious about this. Musk called Sam Altman, he calls him Swindly Sam, and tried to derail it. And Altman is now writing Pentagon's AI policy. All right. And then we already talked about Grok going crazy, but also, despite it going crazy, getting a $200 million Pentagon contract. So the U.S. government clearly doesn't care. They're like, yeah, whatever. All right. And then lastly, iPhone is the 26 will be killing spam calls. So Apple has a new call screening and hold assistant that can finally destroy spam calls. The AI answers the call for you. It filters text messages and even handles hold music. All right, y'all. So there's a lot of other news that's happened this week. That being said, want to know from y'all, what's the craziest news that we shared today? And what are your thoughts on it? We love to hear feedback from everybody, whether you're live here in the chat with us right now or even after the fact. My team and I love to look at the YouTube comments. We love to look at the LinkedIn comments after the fact. So make sure you're tapping in, commenting, letting us know what it is you think about these topics. All right, y'all. So we'll look at a couple more comments and then we are going to wrap up. So let's see. Yeah, y'all are going in. Desi says it always comes down to money. Yep. Woo TV. Shouts out to Woo TV being in the chat. Woo TV says the board makes the decision. They have to record. The board makes the decision. They have to record a board meeting with who's the overseers of the company. Notary says, but if they are getting tax cuts that will benefit them, it just seems greedy to lay off people and destroy their livelihood. So the thing with the tax cuts, so I guess what you're saying, Notary, is that the theory it seems like you have is that if the founder of a company is getting paid more money, then layoffs shouldn't happen. The thing is, though, the founder's money is separate from the company's money. What I mean by that is you can't mix your money with the business's money. Like you can't conflate your money. So, for example, let's say someone has their business set up as an S corp. Well, your business is set up as an S corp. Your money needs to be separate from the business's money, because if the business gets sued, part of literally your money gets wrapped up in the lawsuit. and you have to give up your house, your car, your money to help cover the lawsuit, depending on the scale of the lawsuit. So a CEO, whatever their salary is or their percentage is, they can't take part of that money and then pay employees out of that money, because that's for the business to do, the company to do. And so I get what you're saying, but it's a little bit more complicated and it becomes very risky. Like there's layers on layers of things that we're talking about. We're talking about mixing finances and a CEO because they get paid a certain amount of money. They should not have to fire people or lay people off. And so it's a little bit of a complicated thing. There might be a way around it, but again, right now it's a little bit of a complicated thing. All right, continuing on. Desi says, good. I get spam calls every day. The Master Smooth. Also, do you think that with the situation of the robots, will that affect stuff like streaming and social media? If they can do all of that, what is stopping people from making robot clones of themselves? Exactly. That's actually something that Ash helps with. She literally is able to show you how to create AI clones of yourself. So I will say YouTube put something out recently where they told people that if you're creating AI content, that you can't monetize your AI content. So one piece of good news is that these companies, while they are okay with AI content, they're not going to be okay with it and pay you for the AI content. So that is going to discourage people from trying to have AI influencers. Now, mind you, they can still have AI influencers, and AI influencers can pitch and promote their own products and services. But when it comes to people that want to create a bunch of content with AI because they want to make like ad revenue, these platforms are not going to allow them to make ad revenue. They want authentic content from authentic, genuine creators, humans. So that's one piece of good news that we could talk about in the midst of everything. Howard says 4 people under the age of 21 were arrested. Do you think that they're the fall guys? What are you talking about? Ash, do you know what he's
For
referring
the,
to?
I believe it's for the above comment, the Harrods Coop MNS hack, like a viral hack that recently happened. I'm gonna have to look into this. I haven't heard about it, but I will also say that these are elite hackers and they make a lot of money doing this. So, and you'd be surprised how young these guys are. So, like age of 21 and under, very possible. Very possible.
See. All right, so what happened? Shouts out to AI for giving me the breakdown. In late April, early May 2025, 3 major UK retailers, Marks and Spencer's, Coop, and Harrods, were hit by coordinated cyber attacks. M&S experienced systems shut down that disrupted contactless payment and click and collect services. Estimated cost up to 300 million. This is million euros, to be clear. Coop shut down part of its IT systems after detecting a breach. The hacker group assessed data on around 20 million members. Sheesh. So the threat actor, Scattered Spider, was operating under Dragon Force, branding a ransomware as a service, or RAS, which is hybrid that uses phishing, social media, or social engineering and ransomware. These are data extortion tactics. So, in terms of the arrest, 4 suspects, a 20-year-old woman, and 3 teenagers, 17 to 19, were arrested by UK authorities, charged under the Computer Misuse Act, plus blackmail and money laundering. Sheesh. Wow.
Nice.
All of them, like you said, all of them under 21, 17, most of them 17 to 19. 300 million euros.
Mm-hmm.
Sheesh. It's getting spooky out here. When the youth master this technology, man, interesting. Interesting. Thanks for that news. Thanks for bringing that up. All right, let's see. Elon is Dr. Doom, terrifying and funny, but spot on. Exactly. All right, Wu TV says, where do you get the news from? I need to see those references for more research. Where we get the news from, I prompt the news. So literally, I have a prompt. I have a project set up where every single Friday, um, the prompt I have set up, it basically finds the type of news that I want. So every Friday, it gives me a list of news that I like, and then I tell it which ones I don't like, and then I tell it to create a thumbnail, and essentially we just tell it to it sets basically everything up, and so yeah, so we don't get it from a specific place other than the AI literally brings the news in on Fridays around 12 or 2 p.m. And then it also creates the thumbnail, all of that stuff. For those of y'all that see the thumbnail, AI created it. So yeah, so y'all, we use technology. All the stuff we talk about, we really are using this tech and seeing what it's capable of doing, and we are stretching it and testing it out and seeing how else we can use it to iterate certain tasks. All right, Notary says, for an example, Microsoft laid off 9,000 people, but then asked for 4,500 H-1B visas, cheap labor, of course. Yeah, they did. It's tough. It's tough, Notary, because we have to remember a company is not in business to give people jobs. A company is in business to make money. And again, I this could sound cold, and I don't want to sound cold. It's just that's why the whole purpose of what we talk about is, first off, avoiding certain jobs in tech that massive layoffs are usually going to hit. Software engineers, very risky space to be in. HR, kind of, sort of, depending on what you're doing in HR, it could be a risky spot to be in, depending on the type of HR role you're doing, and depending on the company. And so there's Scrum Master, avoid that. You want to avoid certain jobs in tech, certain careers where you're at huge risk. You want to go towards the ones that are in high demand. That's why I only talk about careers that are in high demand, pay a lot of money, and have a relatively long future ahead. Yeah, so the companies, they're all about making money, saving money. And again, the money is really there for the executives, founder, the investors. The companies are not in business to employ people, they're in business to make money. And so yeah, they're gonna want cheaper labor. Like one of my employees yesterday, I had a call with her because I'm looking at the work she's doing. Technology has allowed half the work she does. I'm like, I don't really need her to do this stuff anymore because technology does it faster. And again, if you're a business owner, you don't start a business because you're like, oh man, I want to employ people. You don't start a business you want to employ people. You start a business because you want to do something that's going to help the world, and then also you expect some type of compensation, which is usually money in exchange for that. And so when your business, whether you're a small business owner or enterprise company, when margins get to a certain point, you're going to look at things that are cost cutting. That's just smart business. And again, I'm not advocating for what Microsoft is doing, but I mean, I'm going to tell you, I'm not Robin Hood. I'm gonna just be real. I'm just not Robin Hood. So as much as I don't like what a lot of the companies do, I'm kind of very gray area ish, where I'm like, I see both sides. And I usually try to look at things from both angles and perspectives. So for me, what that means as someone, okay, if I don't own a business and a successful business, if I'm an employee, I got to look out for me. So I'm going to choose the best company, the best salary. I'm going to choose the career that's going to give me the best longevity. I'm going to do da 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 to look out for me and protect the people that I love. And that's what we're encouraging y'all to do as well. Because yeah, these companies are going to do what they're going to do, and there's nothing that's gonna fix it or stop it. Even when we're like, oh, I can't believe they did that, nothing's gonna change. All right. Notary says, well, this says Cyrus, makes a lot of sense. It's capitalism. Yeah, it is. It is. It is. It can be unfortunate. UTV says you got to name your AI news reporter. What about software test QA engineers? So definitely a lot of them are getting laid off as well, and a lot of them are not able to get jobs. Uh, and that's why it's important that if you're going to be a test engineer, one, you need to know automation. You can't do manual. It needs to be automation, and you need to be able to leverage AI. Basically, you need to be at the top of the market in terms of leveraging the latest technology. But in terms of getting a job, you're gonna need help. That's why we offer job placement assistance. Like we have guaranteed job placement assistance for our AI QA engineers that we train up in our program. We have recruiters, hiring managers, so that way people don't have they could cut through all the noise. That being said, this is the last year we are going to be educating people as it comes to AI engineering careers, because even with our job placement assistance, it's like basically the recruiters and hiring managers that we work with, they've kind of told us, hey, this is the last year we're going to be able to help y'all help people get jobs for the QA. So that's why we're telling everybody about DevOps and tech sales. Yeah, thank you. Howard says key stakeholders. That's really the term I should have been using earlier. All right, good stuff. Ronan says HR roles in tech are very dangerous, especially if you go to a Coldplay concert. That's hilarious. That is funny. And on that note, everybody, Ash, you've been quiet for a minute. Is there anything you're thinking about? Anything you want to share before we wrap up?
I have a last piece of news.
Okay.
Okay, so last week we talked about robotic surgery. So now it's coming full circle, okay? So an AI robot has recently performed an autonomous surgery with 100% success. So here's the details. So an AI surgeon just removed a gallbladder autonomously with zero errors. So the key details. So the robot essentially did 7 successful pig gallbladder surgeries. And the next step, instead of animal trials, they're going to be moving on to humans. So this is 2 different tiers, and it's covering, robotic tools and of course human instructions. So as far as like the business benefits, we're getting into hospitals being able to reduce cost, surgeries that are going to be able to actually be scaled with precision and safety. And also, it opens up licensing opportunities for medical robotics firms. So, to summarize here, this also, of course, is going to raise ethical questions. So, who has the liability if something goes wrong? Let me know down below what you guys are thinking. And last but not least, surgeons' roles. They're obviously going to shift to different oversight and emergency response protocols. So exciting times to be alive, you guys. Cyrus, what are you thinking?
I think I was saying this years ago. Like, man, robots, AI is going to take over surgeons' jobs because robot can be more precise than a human ever could.
Yeah.
It's not gonna get tired like a doctor or surgeon gets tired. And again, aside from hallucinations, which happens, aside from technical errors, which happens, through and through, it'll be more consistent than a human can be. So what I think, like I love how you mentioned, yeah, we're not gonna see no time in the next at least couple years. I don't think we're gonna see a huge slowdown in the medical space. But once this technology starts to become very common, because again, y'all, we have to talk about it. Doctors are not CEOs unless they own their own firm. But most medical doctors, surgeons, they are employees of the hospital. And the CEO of the hospital, as well as the investors, or like what was stated earlier, the key stakeholders, they're gonna want technology that they can use to be able to not have to hire as many surgeons or as many doctors, or not have to put them on as many billable hours. And like Ash said, if they're going to reduce a lot of these surgeons over the next few years, they're going to reduce them to more of an advisory backup role, backup position, then that is going to affect their pay. And so we are going to start to see a shrinking of how much medical professionals are paid, and because fewer and fewer. So either one, we're going to see a shrinking of their pay, or two, we're going to see a shrinking of openings of positions because as there won't be a need for as many staff available. We reported on this before some months back that China has a hospital that's completely robots and AI. And so now they have humans there, they have staff, like people that are there, but essentially it is a robot AI hospital. And so we are reaching that point because just like being lawyers or attorneys or in the law space in general, their job essentially is to study a case, study the law, and then argue the case based on the law. AI could do that. I put money on it. If I had to go up against, put me up against the best attorney, they could practice for a case for three. They could study it for 3 months. Give me give me 2 hours, 1 hour, maybe 30 minutes to use AI with the case, and I will probably beat them. And so again, it's harder to do in the medical space because in the medical space you need both the brain of the AI as well as the physics of the robotics, and that's where we're converging at right now. So I think, yeah, a lot of these spaces, a lot of these industries are cooked, and it's why I say, like, I cannot stress this enough. It's 2025. I believe this is the last 5 years, y'all, we have to either get a high paying tech career, leverage that career, collaborate with others, leveraging AI to create a tech startup or an AI startup, and then having a massive exit. Unless you're a person that you want to create a startup, you want to grow it and scale it, again, that's risky because you could be crushed by competition. But either way, I say get a massive exit. Like my game plan, I've said this often. Like, we're launching some stuff. We're gonna grow it, scale it, have about $100 million exit, and I'm gonna put a huge part of that money into the market. Into the put a lot of it into the S&P 500, put a lot of it into crypto, and then live off the month to month dividends and the annual dividends that come in, and just live off of that and just have my money grow. And so that way, no matter what happens, y'all, that's what we have to do. Like the real safety net is investor. That's the real safety net. But you're only safe as an investor if you have a lot of money to invest. Because if you're making $100,000 a year and you're investing that, you're not safe. You can be investing 10,000 of that a year. You're not going to be safe from what's happening. And so, y'all, that's why this has to be the goal. Like we have to either get in tech or get in some career, make a lot of money, scale, network with others, collaborate with others to create a startup. And that's part of the reason, y'all, why we're launching this new segment soon where we're going to be interviewing founders. Because if y'all look at the sequence of what we're doing, first we interview people that do boot camps to get in tech so we can show y'all how to get in tech. But then we have the tech news so we can show you, hey, this is why you should realize what's happening in the industry. You should realize what's not just the industry, but the world. Because y'all see, the reason why we do this news is to show y'all this isn't about the tech industry. It's about the world. That's why the brand Tech is the New Black. Tech is everything. It's the thing we should all pay attention to. And so, but then the next piece is the platform where we're interviewing startup founders. And so we can now start to learn how to create startups and businesses, how to scale them, how to grow them. What are the challenges? What are the opportunities? And so, because I want to help, like the goal, what Ash and I have is to really help us, help the community, help our society. So again, y'all support, y'all being here, y'all liking, y'all engaging, y'all commenting. It is incredibly, beneficial to us, but also it allows us to better serve you. So we appreciate y'all so much for being here. I love y'all. Ronan says, TikTok, TikTok, make as much money as you can while you can, legally but quickly. LinkedIn user, yeah, trying to level up to be an accredited investor someday. UTB, that's so true. That's why most billionaires and millionaires buy businesses like BlackRock. Very, very true. Yeah, y'all. So again, make sure y'all subscribe, click the bell notifications on YouTube to make sure y'all don't miss when we drop the interviews with the founders, because we're gonna be doing some cool stuff, y'all. Just to give y'all a sneak peek, we also are gonna be launching. We're gonna be expounding on our community, or expanding our community, because one of the things we're gonna do with the founder led interviews, we are actually going to have AI create an ebook after every single interview, an ebook based off of all the lessons the founder gave in the interview. And again, y'all, I'm only gonna be interviewing founders that are millionaires, where their business is making over $1 million a year. So it'll be worthwhile to tune in to learn what all of them are doing, how they're leveraging AI, how they started their businesses, the challenges they faced. And it won't just be a cool podcast to listen to, there will be an ebook, but the ebook will be exclusive to those that will be a part of our subscribed community. But for everybody else, you can be able to tune in, engage, all that good stuff will be there for you. But we're going to have a lot of like unique things that we're going to give to the community, different insights. One of the other things Ash and I talked about is that part of that community will be getting exclusive training when it comes to AI. So y'all know how I mentioned, like, we have AI create our thumbnails now. We have and even ways that we're using AI in our day-to-day lives. We're going to be doing weekly things that are going to be showing y'all how we're using AI, how you can implement it within your life, all of that. So we're going to be launching that pretty soon. So definitely make sure you're subscribed, make sure you're tuned in to the platforms, all of that good stuff, so that way you can get the updates on all of that. Either way, y'all, we love y'all so much. Thank y'all for being here. Again, y'all, for anybody that wants a consultation, make sure you tap in with the Queen of AI, Ash herself. Check the show notes for the links and all of that. For those of you that are looking for funding for up to $200,000, really it could go beyond that. But just to kind of keep it modest, conservative, the funding company tells me to tell people just up to 100,000. I've seen a couple people get up to 300,000. So I want to say more numbers, but basically they say up to 100,000 in funding. Tap in with the link down below. Again, this is funding for either personal or business, but the funding company will be able to help you with that after seeing that you qualify. That being said, Notary left a cool comment. She says lawyers will never get replaced by AI because they run the country. They will argue against AI. I mean, yeah, but a lawyer is only employed by people that hire the lawyer. So if a people can choose to defend themselves and not have a lawyer. So all it takes is enough people to start defending themselves with AI. That's all it takes. If a person is defending themselves and they leverage AI and then they start winning a case against human lawyers, then little by little people are gonna stop using lawyers. What'll probably happen, in my theory, is that there will be a company that it'll be a AI law company where they will say, hey, instead of giving a lawyer, paying a high lawyer this much money, instead you can use our software. We have customer success managers where we can literally show you the best way to use the software based on your case, and then you can win the case on your, like, that's could easily be something that could happen. And lawyers can't stop those companies from doing that, because people can already defend themselves in a case without getting a lawyer. So they could just leverage technology to help them in the case. So yeah, I do agree though, Notary, because there is a company called Do Not Pay, an AI company called Do Not Pay, where they help you leveraging AI. They help you be able to not have to pay for certain charges in cases. And they launched about 2 or 3 years ago, went viral, and a lot of lawyers, were protesting against it. So I get what you're saying, but it's one of those things. I mean, you can't stop the ocean, and the AI is the ocean. You just can't stop it. You just really can't stop it. Great point. I want to know from y'all. Last thing I'll leave y'all with, make sure y'all leave this in a comment. Let us know your opinion. Do you agree with the statement? Do you think that AI is going to eventually be able to replace lawyers? Not that it'll have the capabilities, but that it actually will replace lawyers or most lawyers in the future? Or do you disagree? Do you believe that lawyers, even doctors, surgeons will still be here even 20 years from now? Let us know in the comments. As always, we love y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. And until next time, we'll see y'all for the next piece of weekly AI tech news.